Okay, this is a global finance presentation, demonstration on how it works in Greentree. And what we have is two companies that I've got set up in Greentree. We have a subsidiary company called eComputers New Zealand, and we know, you can see when we're in eComputers New Zealand, because in the bottom right hand corner of the desktop, the backdrop, is a kiwi bird. If I flick across to the second company, you can see it's a Australian-based company, and that's the parent company that we want the New Zealand company to consolidate up into. As we go through this, I do have the Australian company set up as Australian dollars and the New Zealand company set up in New Zealand dollars, so we'll see the translations as we go through. Just before launching into that, to position Greentree a little more, Greentree is a full multi-currency, multi-company system, and we're not going into a lot of the detail on intercompany transactions and things like that, but just to position it so people can see and understand. Here we have the ability to switch between companies, and you can have as many companies as you require in Greentree. There's no limit. There's full intercompany accounting. To show that, we can go into the general ledger, and you can see where we set up the intercompany control accounts and the loan balances between companies. So Greentree itself is a multi-company, multi-currency system, and we're just going to look at the translations and consolidations aspect of that functionality. What I have set up as the desktop is in the bottom right-hand corner. I have an image just to show the company that we're sitting in, so we can navigate and don't get lost as we're rolling around the system. And in the top right-hand corner, more for demonstration and give a feel for what Greentree can do, I have various financial balances coming out of whatever company I'm in. And as you can see on these panels, we can drop down, make selections, and the numbers change. It's all real time. It's all very interactive. This is a very simple 2x2 panel or desktop arrangement. In the top left-hand corner, I have the menu options that I'm anticipating that I'll be using during the course of the demonstration. So these simply go and open a menu option that's in Greentree that we would otherwise go to by going through the menu system. It's just quicker and easier if you have them marked as favorites, or in my case I've called them my menu items. My records, very similar to my menus, the difference being that it will take you to a specific record within the menu option. So just showing that briefly, up in my menus I have a GL account maintenance form. I could double click on that, it opens up my general ledger account maintenance. Down in my records, I have a particular general ledger bookmarked, general ledger account bookmarked, and it opens the same menu option but goes directly to the transaction or the record or the master file that I want to look at. So in terms of the environment, that's pretty much all that I'll be talking about today. Let's get into the consolidation and translation component and functionality that Greentree has to offer. I'm sitting in the New Zealand company at the moment, and the first thing we need to set up and understand in Greentree is that we can map chart of accounts from one general ledger or one subsidiaries, one company, to that of another company. So if we have a quick look at that, we set these up in what we call consolidation codes, and the consolidation code in this case I've called AUS for the Australasia consolidation. We can choose the level of detail at which the translation and the consolidation happens, whether it's just a summary single line, whether it's all the transactions get consolidated at transaction level, or one line per GL account. I have it defaulting to one line per GL account, which is what we'll run with here. Consolidation structure, we have a parent company, Australasia. we have an Australian company and a New Zealand company that get consolidated up into Australasia. And if we go and look in the setup under there and call up one of those consolidations, this is where we can see the detail of the subsidiary company, New Zealand subsidiary company getting consolidated into the parent Australasia company. We need to set up a few control accounts, reserve accounts, variances and the such, and very importantly how the account mapping works. Down here we can see a list of all the account numbers and how they get mapped from the subsidiary to the parent company. And there are a number of options in setting these mappings up. We'll come back and go through those in a little more detail, but we can do, as is fairly common, from one account range to another account range. We can map specific account numbers in the subsidiary to specific account numbers in the parent company. And we can get away, if you've got a common chart of accounts across the entire organization, you can get away with simply putting in one line there that says just map it from account to account, and if they're matching accounts, it's a bit of a catch-all that will map it all the way through. Definitely the preferred way to go, if you can, is to have a common chart of accounts across the whole organization. We also, so that's setting up the mapping of chart of accounts, subsidiary to parent. Quite frequently when you're doing consolidations, the subsidiary company and the parent company may have different period mappings as well. You need to map the periods. So again, in Greentree, quite easy to do. We can go through and say we have a March to June calendar in the subsidiary company, and in the parent company they have a different calendar, and we can map across periods as well to make sure that we get the correct periods in the subsidiary going into the correct periods in the parent company, because they may be on different financial calendars. So that's a very brief and quick overview of the setup, more to give a feel of the structure and the level that you can go to. If we go down one to the next level of detail and have a look at a particular account, here we have an account 20.10.2010, cost of goods sold and hardware, and notice that it's a New Zealand dollar, as you'd expect. It's the GL accounts in New Zealand dollars because we're working in a New Zealand dollar company, or the subsidiaries a New Zealand dollar company. If I have a look at the balances, my data is sitting in 2010-11, and I'm going to be consolidating July, and I'll show you why a little later on. But just while we're in this account, if we have a look at the July balance, which is sitting at 18,012 New Zealand dollars in the period of July, we're going to come back to that number in this account so you can see what happens to that during the translations and consolidations. On the Global Finance tab within each account, we can override the defaults for the consolidation. In this case, I'm not going to. We're consolidating it at a summary level as opposed to a transaction level. And on the consolidation sub-tab within the Global Finance, we can see where that's going to get consolidated to. In this case, the subsidiary account number 2010 is going to get consolidated to 0610.2010 in the parent company. And likewise, from a translation level, translation aspect, again, we can override any defaults on an account-by-account basis. That's pretty much the setup that I have. Now, let's run through a translation and see how quick and easy that can be done. First of all, when you're in the subsidiary company, before you can consolidate it, you need to translate it in order to get the values into the right currency before consolidating into the parent company. So I'm going to run the translation. Greentree does store each translation that you do, so I'm going to give a reference number 2010-07, which is our July 2010 translation. It's defaulted the period to July because it knows that the last translation we did was in June. So it will automatically default to the next period that needs translating. We select how we want to, the level at what, the detail that we want to translate at, whether we want to do a balance sheet only, P&L only, or both. If you're doing a consolidation, you do need to get it to both, and whether you want to do any overrides. So a few quick bits of information to see, to set the translation scene, and clicking on Run, Greentree will run through and translate all the accounts that are in the general ledger. Very quickly, we made note of that GL account 20.10.2010. If we go down and have a look at that, we can see here we've got 20.10.2010, and there's the 18,012 New Zealand dollars, and we can see it's been translated into 12,608 Australian dollars. These obviously pulled, the exchange rates are obviously pulled out from the exchange rate tables maintained in Greentree. Once we're happy with that translation, at this stage it's sort of sitting there for viewing only and held in limbo. The subsidiary has control over their accounts, and if there's a different financial controller for the subsidiary company to the group financial controller or those sort of positions, the subsidiary, the parent company, will not be able to translate and consolidate until the subsidiary is put into a state to say yes, it's available for consolidation. If we're happy with those translations, which in this case I am, we tick the little final box. Greentree gives us a warning to say you're about to finalize these, and everything will go into read only, which we need, because obviously once you've done the consolidation and translation, you don't want the numbers changing. That translation is now finalized, and the final step and last step from a subsidiary point of view is simply to flag the subsidiary as ready to be consolidated. Again, I've gone into the consolidation, it's confirmed the next period, and just say prepare consolidation. That subsidiary company is now ready to be consolidated. Obviously, if you're going from the same subsidiary of the same currency as the parent company, you can skip the translation step, because all the accounts should be in the same currency. So as far as the subsidiary goes, we've now done all the work. We can, in the subsidiary, we move on to the next period and do our normal monthly processing or period processing until the next period when we need to translate and prepare for consolidation again. So I'll leave the subsidiary New Zealand company now and go into the parent company. Parent company, which is Australasia, and we can see we're in a different company now because I've got the Australian map and flag in the bottom right hand corner. In the parent company, again, I've got the same desktop layout, and before consolidating, I'll just draw your attention to the account that we're looking at a little bit of detail on, that 0610.2010. That's the account number, if you recall, where the subsidiary account 20.10.2010 is going to be consolidated to. Looking at it in the parent company, if I go to the balances tab, you can see there's no transactions for July. There are no balances in the parent company. Nothing's been consolidated there yet. Just as confirmation, if I go into the Global Finance tab, it's pretty much set up the same way. We're pulling the information through, but importantly here, we can see that there are in fact 3 GL accounts from the subsidiary company that are going to get consolidated into this one account in the parent company, including our account 20.10.2010. So it's going to be one of 3 numbers that get consolidated up there. So all being well, I can close that. I'll come back to that. I'll go into the Global Finance section and just run the consolidation. Again, you can have multiple consolidations in various stages of process. I'll just say this is July 2010 for the New Zealand company that we're pulling in. Period end date, it defaults. And down here we can see all the subsidiary periods that are ready to be consolidated. So I do have two companies that are ready to be consolidated. I'm only going to, in this instance, consolidate the New Zealand company to keep it simple. I add that into there to say let's run the consolidation for that subsidiary. You can run them both simultaneously, really doesn't matter. Click on run and Greentree goes away, looks at pulls all the information in from the subsidiary company. Very quick process. It does give you a log of all the accounts it's pulled through, and any issues or errors that come up will be shown in there. But now we've run the consolidation. If I go back to the general ledger account number, the general ledger account 0610-2010, I go to our balances, and we can now see there is a balance for July of 38,147. Bearing in mind that's the balance of 3 accounts coming in from the subsidiary. If I go and drill down into that and look at the transactions that have been generated through the consolidation, I can see a line for each one of the subsidiary accounts coming through, including our line of $12,608.52 coming through from account number 2010-2010. So pulls it all the way through, and there's not really a lot more to consolidations and at a high level and in principle. I'll just close off by saying that once you run those consolidations, the system's locked down, but like everything else in Greentree, should you wish to roll back a consolidation, it's very easy. You just simply go through each step, call up the last step, and you delete it. That will roll out the consolidation. And if you want to make changes in the subsidiary, you then need to just undo the prepare that was done, undo the translation, and basically you roll back through the steps. And that's consolidation and translations. Okay, I'll stop recording there, Bronwyn, shall I? And we'll go through that in more detail now, shall we?
Sounds good.